Hi again, this is the second of the videos, and this one helps people to discover where and how God is calling them. We believe that gift and call always go together, and that every single person created by God has been gifted and called. And so I'd like to just share with you how we go about the gift discernment process. We always begin with scripture, and you can take your own favorite scripture. Mine is Matthew 5, you are the light of the world. Don't take your light and put it under a bushel basket. But let your light shine. Let your gifts be seen so that when people see your gifts, they'll give glory to your God in heaven. One scripture scholar told me that if you look through the scriptures, the New Testament, there are more passages on the stewardship of gifts than on any other topic, even more than on prayer. And so you have people reflect on some scripture that would put them in the mood to really see this through that lens. And then there are three areas you want to cover in the presentation. First is the obstacles to knowing your gifts. Second is what you mean by gifts. And then third is to get very practical, exactly what does it look like. And so in the first step is, what are the obstacles that prevent you from knowing the fullness of your gifts? We usually open that up for the group, and we let them sometimes share with one another or just share back, whichever you prefer. But when people do that and they begin sharing back, there's a handout you'll get that will show the ones that we see most commonly. The biggest one, the major one, is that people have grown up with a false sense of humility, that they think they're not supposed to say they have gifts. And yet when you look at the scriptures and you see, the guy who takes and buries his gifts, probably one of the strongest lines in scripture. The man is referred to as you lazy lout, because he buried his gifts, not because he killed somebody or did anything like that. And so that's one of the big ones. That false sense of humility. Another one that comes up often is people spend more time looking at somebody else's gifts than their own. People don't want to sometimes know what their gifts are, because if they know their gifts, they're going to have to use them. And they're feeling comfortable right now. But you begin to get people to identify what are those obstacles that prevent people from being able to see their gifts. You let them talk, you add some, and then you let them reflect a little bit on what are their obstacles. The second step is you begin to look at the issue of gift. And again, you'll have a list that will have about 8 or 9 of them on. And you can do it in any way you want. We usually have people sharing with one another. We find that helps, but you can have people talking directly, or you can share them, whichever way you prefer. But some of the beliefs, whatever your beliefs are, some of our beliefs are, one, every single person created by God is gifted and called. And then we say to the group, do you believe this? And if they say yes, we say, well, who's the last person you talked to? Now look at that person, think about that person, and ask yourself, what gifts do I see in that person? Because people sometimes don't really make that a reality. Another belief is that all gifts are given to be used. No gift is ever given to you just for your own sake. It's given to be used, as St. Paul tells us, for the building up of the community. Gifts, you'll never know the fullness of your gifts by yourself. You need other people to tell you your gifts. You sitting by yourself will know some of your gifts, but never the fullness. Gifts change. That's probably one of my favorites. I remember when I was much younger, I was very good working with youth. I don't have that gift anymore. Gifts change. God gives all the gifts we need, I believe, to do whatever the mission is we have as a parish or whatever that is. The fact is we're not looking hard enough for the gifts. Either we say certain people don't have gifts or whatever it may be. After you've done that second step, the third step to me is one of the critical steps, and that is, what do people mean by gifts? Usually people only think of what they do as gifts. But if they go back to when they felt ministered to, they'll see it isn't so much what people do. It's basically an attitude. It's a response. And when you say to people, I want you to think about your gifts, it's how compassionate am I? How much do I listen to people? Those sorts of things. Every experience of God you've ever had is a gift. And every experience of God, therefore, has to be shared, because that's why gifts are given to us. But the one area in which people often fail to see their gifts is that God is present in every experience of our life, even the most painful, the most shameful experiences. God is there. And so I know a parish that is one of the most alive parishes I've ever been in. And they give you a list of people's names when you enter the parish. And next to their name is their gift. I met a woman, next to her name it said death of a child. She had a 4-year-old son that died. Her gift, not one she would have ever wanted, she had a gift of ministering to other parents who lost a child. And the parish helped her to develop that gift. But if you look at that list, it will say alcoholism. It will say drug addiction. It will say parents of someone who committed suicide. It will say cancer. All of these people begin to see those things as gifts. And you begin to help them to realize that. What you then do is you ask people to make a list of their gifts. And we ask them to write it, because if they write it, it's much more difficult to deny it. And then we take one person just to show them how it works. Often we ask for a volunteer. Sometimes we ask who's had the birthday most recently. And we ask if that person is willing to share their gifts with the group, then that's the person we use. And the instructions we give the group is very simple. We're always going to begin with a prayer. And then we're going to ask the person who has volunteered to share their gifts in any way they want. And then we often will do it either with the whole group or a small group of people who knows that person to share back the gifts they see in that person. And there are 3 ways they can do that. First, they can affirm gifts. But we tell them if you affirm a gift, be very concrete, be specific. Tell them where you've seen that gift. Second thing is sometimes you can question a gift. Somebody may think they have a gift, but you can't see it. I used to live with a man who thought he had the gift of leading singing at Mass. He didn't have that gift. You know, was frustrated, and he made everybody else frustrated. And so you can question gifts. But the most important thing is to add additional gifts that the person hasn't seen in themselves. And so again, if you do that and add gifts, make it concrete, make it specific, tell them where you've seen it, and speak to them directly. People have a tendency to talk about the person like they're out there. Oh, Joe has the gift of. No, talk to Joe. Joe, you have the gift of. And after everybody has shared the gifts, we invite the person whose gifts have just been discerned to see if they have any response they want to make. Anything struck you specific? Any had special meaning to you? Or just any response you want to make to that? When that's finished, the process is not over. We then say to the person, if these are your gifts, where and how is God calling you to use those gifts? Secondly, if these are your gifts, what do you need to do to develop them, to strengthen them? And third, what do you need from your community in order to put your gifts more at the service of the gospel? After we've done it with one person, we then break people up into groups. They have to be people who know each other. And we invite them to do the exact same process. Again, there'll be an outline for you on this. But the process is so simple and so powerful. It has been our belief that the major thing that transforms any community is when we do the gift discernment process. It changes relationships. It changes how we see each other. It changes us from seeing the negative in people to seeing the positive. I hope this is of some help to you. Thank you.